Welcome back to Asinine Radio, a weekly podcast where we talk about music, and, well, that's pretty much it. So, let's go!
This is Asinine Radio. This is the weekly music podcast where every week we get into our 6 Degrees with Tom DeLonge, and then we also rank all of the albums from whatever artist or band that we're doing this week. And this week we are doing the Jimi Hendrix Experiment. The Jimi Hendrix Experience. I was thinking the Jamie Kennedy Experiment.
Oh, that's a good experience.
Yeah, I've been watching Scream. So we're going to rank his 3 studio albums, and that's it. We'll talk about some of his live stuff, but we're only going to rank his 3 albums from worst to best. And we're going to try to have a good time doing that. And while you're listening, go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, give us 5 stars on there. Please go do that. Go to all the social media is at Asinine Radio. We have a phone number you can call. It's 503-893-5307 if you want to shoot us a text. Send us a voicemail. People do that. That's cool. We also have a Discord server. If you want to join that, hit us up. We'll send you the link. Cool. And now that we're done with the boring intros, let's get right into our 6 Degrees of Tom DeLonge. So what do you got, Jeff? Go.
I didn't do one. There was a lot of stuff to do this week. I don't know. What do you want me to do?
That's fine. Then I just did one. I did one.
Okay.
I'm not negligent like you. So we're going to start with drummer Buddy Miles. Obviously played with Jimi Hendrix. And we go from Buddy Miles to Santana because they did a live album together in 1972 called Carlos Santana and Buddy Miles Live. And then we go from Santana to Rob Thomas because obviously Rob Thomas was on the Supernatural record. And who doesn't love that record, right? Mm-hmm. Go listen to the podcast when we did that episode. It was awful.
So good.
And then so from Rob Thomas, we go to a guy named Mike Elizondo, who we've actually talked about quite a bit on the podcast.
Lots.
Yeah, so he's a famous producer, also a bass player, and Mike Elizondo played bass on Rob Thomas's first solo album called Something to Be. Came out in 2005. And Mike Elizondo, he has produced a couple Avenged Sevenfold records, and then Brooks Wackerman is in Avenged Sevenfold, and then Brooks Wackerman to Blink to Tom.
Oof.
Or Brooks straight to Tom because he played on Tom's solo record. So there you go.
You're getting close on that one. That was like 6 right there.
That was like I think it was exactly 6.
Almost 7. Okay.
Yeah, but I did it. This is actually a tough one. It was a tough one, but I made the connection. I did it. So that's all I got for the 6 Degrees with Tom DeLonge. Let's just jump into the rankings then. I'm sure this will be kind of quick because, he only put out 3 records. And let's just jump into number 3. What do you got, Jeff? Go.
Ooh, number 3 for me. I have all 3 of these on the vinyls, I will say. And I'll keep them. Because I do enjoy listening to them. But Electric Ladyland. Electric Ladyland. That's a stupid name. That's my least favorite of the 3. And I'm not saying that it's bad. I don't think it's bad at all in any capacity. It's just more like focus. It's a more focused approach to being like a rock star. It's less goofy, and I think Hendrix is super goofy. It's less goofy and less childish and more adult in its songwriting. Noel and Mitch both kill it, as they always do on this record. And as do everybody else. And Hendrix sings like he's trying to be a singer rather than just a placeholder. Like I think Jerry Garcia is just a placeholder. And at this point in their career, Hendrix has become like a perfectionist. Multiple songs were tracked over and over and over, and they had numerous takes. We're talking 20, 30, 40 takes per song. And it's just...
on tape.
Yeah, and it's just like, come on, man. That's just... like, I don't know. That's fine. I get it. That's kind of a natural progression of musicianship, is to want to refine your craft. That's fine. It's still a solid album, like I said, but you can kind of just tell there's a lack of innocence and childish direction on this one. So that's why I have it my least favorite. But it's a double LP, and there's a lot of fucking songs. So,
yeah.
I know.
So you got no banger off this one?
Oh no, I got a bunch of bangers, dude. My favorite is the cover of "Come On, Come On, Let the Good Times Roll." Like I really like what he did with it.
Yeah.
It's fucking cool. Maybe I was just still kind of in a rock and roll high from the Richie Valens episode last week, because that song "Let the Good Times Roll" is just like a jump blues song, but that's a precursor to rock and roll. So maybe I was just like on a high from the Richie Valens thing. But fuck, man, I loved it. I love the soul he threw into it. I thought he kept that edge, that kind of like jump blues into rock and roll edge, but added his own psychedelic, iconic Jimi Hendrix sound to it. Absolutely perfect. And then also the epic 1983, right? Our Merman I Should Turn to Be. Dude, it's like this 13-minute jam.
That's a wild one.
It's fucking wild.
One.
And it's so goddamn good.
Mm-hmm.
But this, I mean, Electric Ladyland also has like All Along the Watchtower, which is insanely popular.
That's a fucking amazing song.
It has, I think his version too is exponentially better than Bob Dylan. I love Bob Dylan.
Yeah, without a doubt.
But I mean, we talked about it on the Bob Dylan episode too. It's just, I don't like Bob Dylan's version of his own song. It's stupid. I don't like it. But this also has the Voodoo Child or the Voodoo Chili, depending on what track it is. And so there's a lot of bangers off of this album, and it's iconic. And the cover art I think is really cool. I like it. So I don't know. I will keep this, and I have a really old pressing. I don't think it's an OG pressing because I think this was 1968. I think I have like a 70 or 71 pressing. So I like it a lot. I'm going to keep it. I did purge like 4 Hendrix albums in the past 2 weeks and sold them.
But they were all just like, albums that were released after he died, right?
Yeah, they were all. I got rid of the Band of Gypsies because that was like the first one I think he did like as he was about to die.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was recorded live.
Yeah, but it was.
Yeah, but they only did it because he signed some shitty contracts in the mid '60s to where he was owed. He owed an album to his old manager, so that's what they did. They just recorded a live record.
Yeah,
and called it an album, a studio, or not a studio album, just an album.
Yeah, Band of Gypsy, they got rid of The Cry of Love, which was like the first album that he released after he died, or that was released after he died. It had studio tracks on it. And then like Rainbow Bridge was the soundtrack thing. And I don't know. There's a bunch of other stuff too that I didn't like. But I did keep one live album that I will input into my rankings as an interim thing. And then I'm also going to put into my rankings where I think Woodstock should be.
Okay, all right.
So yeah, but that's what I got. Electric Ladyland.
I'll throw in the live rankings too, just as supplemental, because I did listen to Woodstock and I did listen to Isle of Wight, the full one on Spotify, the 2-hour fucking one. Yeah, so I'll throw those in there as well.
Perfect.
But my number 3 is Axis, Bold as Love, his second record. This record to me, it was very unfocused and it seemed very rushed, and a lot of the songs kind of seem to bleed together. I like this record a lot. I think it's very good, but in the context of these 3 records, it's by far the worst. Like I felt like this is just it happened too quickly. It was released 7 months after his first record.
Same fucking year.
Yeah, so it just seemed so fucking rushed. And I mean, everything about Hendrix was very quick. I mean, not as quick as Richie Valens, but getting close.
No, you're right.
But yeah, Axis, Bold as Love. I mean, I've always really, really liked Castles Made of Sand. I think that's one of his best songs. I think just the melody and just kind of how trippy overall the song sounds with like the backmasking that he uses in the song. It has a little bit of everything you'd want from Hendrix. The crazy psychedelic stuff, the melodies, has it all, and the guitar playing obviously, and then we'll get into it extensively. The bass and drums, because dude, shit's fucking unreal. But
I think we probably both are gonna gravitate towards everybody in the band except for Hendrix for most of it.
I think so too. It's astonishing. So yeah, Axis, Bold as Love is my least favorite, but it's still a solid record. And I will say I only have one out of these 3. I only have Are You Experienced? That's the only one I have on vinyls, just because I've never seen the other 2 like used for cheap. I always find new copies for like $25 to $30. I'm not gonna do that. Just not going to do that.
I know Alda usually has Electric Ladyland for around the $20-$25 range, but like early pressings.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I'll get that this week when I'm out there in Arizona. But otherwise, yeah, I don't have them. But yeah, Axis Bold as Love, my number 3. So what do you got for number 2? Go.
The album of the week. Are You Experienced?
Okay.
That's what I got. I've still have not inputted the 2 live ones yet.
All right. I understand that. My number 2 is also Are You Experienced?
Oh.
So what is your number 1?
Well, so in between my number 2 and my number 1, this is where I would put Woodstock.
Okay.
Because Woodstock was something that I don't think it was like his best performance, but it's for sure his most iconic. It is one of the most iconic things in like rock and roll history. It's just, it is what it is not. I would never say what's on the no list, but it is, you know what I mean? Like it happened. It's something that is crazy. He played like later in the bill. And so a lot of people had already left.
He pretty much closed out Woodstock. He played at 8 a.m.
Yeah.
On Monday morning. 8 a.m. on Monday morning.
Like everyone's fucked up. Everyone's tired. Everyone's just beat to shit. Everyone's trying to leave. And Hendrix comes on and he doesn't give a shit. He fucking takes the stage and he rips it up. And like that's where we get like the Star Spangled Banner from. And it's so broken. And the way he plays it is honestly like so shitty and like almost disrespectful in a traditionalist sense. But
totally.
But that like purpose, like that, like perfectly embodies what Woodstock was about, what like the '60s counterculture was about, and above all else, what Hendrix did best was just fuck it. I'm just gonna play music. Like that's what good rock and roll is, and that's what we talked about last week with Richie Valens, and just like rock and roll is inherently counterculture. Like Jimi Hendrix was inherently counterculture. Everything about him. Even though I have a lot of negative things to say about him, he was inherently rock and roll in essence.
Yeah.
And I dig.
I agree with you on that.
But that's where I put Woodstock.
Okay. I put Woodstock also, right there between my 2 and 1, my 1 and 2. And I may have read this wrong, but I guess like the peak of Woodstock was like 300,000 people. I guess on Friday or Saturday. And when he played, I think only 30,000 people were there.
Yeah. Everybody
left. By the time he played at 8 a.m. Yeah. And he was originally billed to play at midnight on that Sunday night. And he's like, no, for whatever reason, he decided to push it forward or push it to the morning. I don't remember why though. But yeah, he ended up playing at 8 a.m. on that Monday morning. And it says that he didn't sleep for 3 days. He had been up for 3 fucking days on, amphetamines and fucking who knows what else, cocaine, whatever. So yeah, he was a wild guy, but yeah, up for 3 fucking days at Woodstock.
I think like he had like a clause in his contract that no one else would play after him, and so that's why he was pushed back so much too. Is because all of the rain delays, people showing up late, just all the things that happened. No one was going to play after him. I mean, it got so bad that like there was like the Woodstock organizers were sending in helicopters to fucking drop food and water to people so they wouldn't die.
It's stupid.
But like only like 2 people died, and like out of
I
think it's upwards of like 400,000 people that showed up to a festival that they thought like 40,000 people would come to.
It's pretty fucking insane.
And it just like to think now,
in the middle of nowhere, New York.
To think now, and in 2022, you throw a festival of 40,000, and almost 500,000 show up, and there's only 2 deaths. Come on.
Yeah, you're right.
More people die at Travis Scott shows than that. Like, it's silly.
Oh, dude.
Fucking silly.
That's true. That is true. But I don't know. Sad stuff.
Oh yeah. Anyway,
Travis Scott thing is.
Yeah. So my number 1 is Axis. This is very much more laid back. It's a laid back approach than Are You Experienced. Like there's parts of this album that are so groovy and so lighthearted and just almost pop. And Jimi Hendrix kind of is very pop focused a lot of the times. He just has a tone that was so unique to him that it masked a lot of the popness. But like the song you mentioned, Castles Made of Sand, like, dude, that is just a soft groove. And it reminds me of something like Frusciante does a lot. that kind of like
Yeah.
soft, light-hearted groove, but there's like an edge to it. And like the next track also is super boss, and it's there's just a lot of layering too in this album that I thought it dealt more with a lot of pain that he was dealing with, and he was a very emotional guy. Like since his early upbringings, he's just a very emotional guy, and that's where the whole like manic depression thing, bipolar that he was called early on. He wasn't a rock star. He was just kind of like an emo kid, but wanted to be a rock star, but didn't know really how to do it. But like Axis just, man, there was just something about this one that I really liked, and I think that was like an emo aspect to this psychedelic rock of Jimi Hendrix. And it was also infamous for its cover art. Like Hendrix fucking hated it. He had no input on it whatsoever. They put it out without his even like looking at it. He fucking hated it. The whole world hated it. It's awful. I
still don't think it's a very good cover. I don't care for it.
I think it's fine. It's just something very stereotypical of the late '60s psychedelic era. You can replace Hendrix's face with Keith Richards, and it'd be no different than anything the Stones put out or something Led Zeppelin did.
But it's just like Hendrix had nothing to do with Indian music. Just nothing to do with it.
He wanted something like Native American.
And
because he was part Native American, and that's what he wanted to do, and he was super pissed about it, which I totally understand.
Yeah, it's his fucking music, and they're taking advantage of the culture of the time. I mean, obviously the Beatles were, the biggest thing in the world, and all the Ravi Shankar stuff with the Beatles, and it makes sense why they did it marketing wise, but it's so disrespectful to him and the band to use their likeness for something that they did not want.
It's dumb.
It's pretty fucked up. Yeah.
My favorite song,
some shit that they would have done after he died, but this is fucking second record.
Yeah. So soon after Are You Experience too.
I know. It's crazy. It's crazy how short of an amount of time he was actually alive and making music. But we'll get more into that, when we do the main episode of the pod. But my number one is Electric Ladyland. Oh wait, no. What was your BB off Axis?
Oh, She's So Fine. She's So Fine was Noel Redding. Like that was his track. He sang on it. He composed it, and it's a nice, heavy, thick bass line track, obviously, but it's like spazzy. It's hectic and it's super busy. And I think like the Jimi Hendrix Experience is at their best when the rhythm section is crazy busy and Hendrix slows down into a more clean tone, but has like that kind of like I don't know, that iconic chordage that he uses a lot, like Jimi Hendrix chord is what a lot of people call it. I think that's when they're at their best. And that song, because he wrote the song, the bass player, it was very bass forward, but I liked it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I had this on the vinyls. I got a copy of this for free because I have an original pressing of the record itself, but there was no sleeve.
Uh-huh.
And so then I found someone on Discog selling just a sleeve for like $3, and I bought it. So now I have a complete thing for like $3.
Oh wait, now that I think about it, I know what. Yeah, I was trying to think like, what song is this off the record? But no, I remember when it came on, it shocked me because not hearing Hendrix's voice on it.
Yeah. Yeah, he sings.
I know.
Totally different.
This is like
not a good singer. It's just like, what the fuck? Why? What is going on here? But it's so
But
jarring.
It was refreshing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because man, at this point, I mean, when I listen to Hendrix, I'll just throw on whatever. Like I'm just whatever with Hendrix. So I don't go after anything specific. So at this point, when I was listening to Axis, I'm like, dude, it's just like a lot of the same. So it was nice. It was very nice hearing Hendrix not singing for once. It was very nice. I liked it. That was a good song.
You have not stuck Isle of Wight in here yet either. I have not. So
no.
Did you forget, or is your number one? Okay,
no, I have a reason.
Fine. Go ahead. What's your number one?
I have a reason. So my number one is Electric Ladyland, their third record. I like how much tighter this record is. There's more. It's more consistent. It's more concise. I think there's a nice balance of in the mix, like between the guitar, bass, and drums. Like I feel like on the first two records, Jimmy's guitar is much lower in the mix than I really remember I've ever really thought about, and everybody else is turned up so high, or just at least so loud. But this just sounds much more well balanced, and I like that a lot. Like you can really hear. I feel like you can hear a lot more nuance in his playing on this particular record than on the first two. So there's that. I mean, arguably the biggest banger is off of this. I mean, not the biggest banger, but his most popular song is off of this record.
All on the Watchtower?
No, Voodoo Child.
Oh yeah,
Slight Return. I mean, that's arguably that riff is, outside of Smoke on the Water and Iron Man, that is the most iconic guitar riff of all time.
Damn, Gina.
Come on, really? Voodoo Child.
Spitting big arguments here.
It is. Voodoo Child is the biggest. I mean, I will say it is.
You think it's more popular than Purple Haze?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. That guitar riff, absolutely is bigger than Purple Haze. Yeah. Single-handedly. I mean, it's not as easy to play, obviously, as like Smoke on the Water and Iron Man, but it's more iconic. It's more iconic. It's more noticeable. You hear that riff and you're like, you instantly know it's Hendrix. But yeah, Electric Ladyland. This is my 1B. I really enjoy this one. My favorite song is 1983.
Oh damn,
dude, the jamming, man. Dude, talk about a band that, like, had Jimmy not died, this would have been his career throughout the 70s.
Yes,
like without a doubt, he would have become more of a jam band.
Yep,
and it would just have been unreal. Because, and I say this because I think you agree with me, or I hope you agree with me, Isle of Wight is the best thing.
Yes.
I never heard this live record. Never heard this live record. And yeah, it was long, but it's okay. It's 2 hours long, but it's okay because they do jam a lot.
I know.
And it's remarkably good. And I'll talk more about like what I don't like about Are You Experienced on the main pod, but yeah, it's just, I just love how they're more of a band on that, in that live performance, than anything they ever recorded in the studio. Like you could actually tell that they were trying to play with each other. I love it. I thought that live record was amazing. So what do you think about this one?
Okay, so my number one is I Love Wight. That is what got me. Honestly, that's what got me into Jimi Hendrix, and that was because we just started collecting the vinyl, and all I knew about Jimi Hendrix was he is iconic. I still think he's definitely one of the greatest guitarists, just because of what he's done for rock music and music in general.
His influence, yeah.
But as a songwriter, I still think he's vastly overrated, still to this day.
Agreed.
But I can't. There's no denying that he's one of the greats, and there's arguments to be made that I would be okay with him being the great. That's fine. Don't care. I don't think he is, but that's fine. But fuck me, in Isle of Wight, I got this on the vinyls early on in our collecting, and I was blown away. I was blown away at just how jammy it is. Like this guy,
yeah,
he's a child. And again, like dude, we keep forgetting he died so early in his life, right? And so we think of Hendrix as like Purple Haze and the Foxy Lady.
Foxy Lady, yeah.
But he died so early on, and Isle of Wight just really showcases kind of his lackadaisical, lazy approach to riffing. But it's not even lazy because it's him. Like it's his style. Like that's what he did. He played out of tune constantly all the time. But he was just so good at it that he would bend like the root. He would bend the note to hit that root note, so it would be in tune, and then continue his solo. Like that was just how fucking good he was at the guitar.
And then he would tune his guitar back into the proper tuning while he was playing too.
Just if he felt like the
guy was
he was
remarkable.
doing it.
He was remarkable. Yeah.
It was unreal, and I only have the vinyl of it. That is, it's a condensed. It's like the best of the Isle of Wight performance. Because it's not 2.5 hours long. It's like 45 minutes long. And I love it.
I would get the full performance. Like if the full performance was available, if it is available on vinyl, I would.
It is. It's pressed. It was pressed in 2002. Yeah. I was looking it up today, actually.
What's the cost on it?
It's like $70.
That's not terrible. I mean, that's kind of, we spent a little bit more than that on the How the West Was Won.
It's only been pressed once, and it was in like 2002, and it's the full performance. It's front to back. Fuck. It's all Hendrix, and honestly, it is unreal. Like this guy,
It is. It's really fucking good.
Jimi Hendrix at his best is better than than most of the greatest of all time. He truly is, because he knows how to play with his band. He knows how to lead. He knows how to follow, and he knows how to just kind of like be a kid. Like he embodies like a perfect rock star of someone that wanted to be better, but also didn't forget what it was like to be a beginner. And he tried things that were different. And then you can tell in Isle of Wight, he fucks up a lot of the solos that he's trying to do in the songs that he's been doing multiple times, dozens of times. He fucks them up. He misses notes. He maybe he's just strung out. I don't know. But he works around it. He works around it in a way that like a kid would work around it. Like, oh, that fuck up sounded kind of cool. Let me throw another fuck up in there to make everyone else think that the fuck up was intentional and it's part of a song now. That kind of like quick-witted thinking, but then like to have Noel and Mitch like behind you to pick up the slack and I don't know, dude, like Jimi Hendrix Isle of Wight is really what people should be talking about when they talk about how great Jimi Hendrix was. Not Are You Experienced by any measure.
I agree. I agree 100%. They like I said, they sound like a real band. There's not all of the we'll get it now. I see. I can't talk about it right now. We have to get into it on the main episode.
Let's cut it, and then we'll get into it.
Okay. Yeah. So anybody listening, we're going to talk about these live records more, or we're going to talk about Isle of Wight more. But obviously, our main focus is going to be on his first record, Are You Experienced? So keep listening. Listen to the next episode. Thank you all for listening, and that's it. That's all for this one.
Mitch Mitchell.
Jimi Hendrix.